y'all? Jordan. Another episode of Lightning Latest. Got a few things we're going to talk about today. Uh, once again, one of my favorite sports outlets, The Athletic. 100% of their writers in their season preview picked the Bolts to make it to the playoffs. Okay, they are picked by alongside the Hurricanes and the Panthers, right? So pretty good company, right? Those are the only three teams that they said, at least in the Eastern Conference, would be in there, 100% of them. So we know the Bolts can play well. They showed it last year, right? They showed it many times in the past, 2020, 2021. We've gotten there. We've gotten close again. But the last couple of years have been tough, right? With those first round losses to the Panthers, those are the Maple Leafs. Ugh, that one sucked too. But it's neither here nor there. Now it's time to, really get back and focus. The rest of the predicted field, they had the Maple Leafs, Caps, Devils, Canadians, and the Rangers and Senators tied for that 8th spot. If I had to pick one today, I'd actually lean slightly towards the Senators. I feel like, they're just a deeper team. And I'm pretty excited to see what they can bring to us opening night. That's really going to be a fun matchup. So, they also mentioned a few notable Bolts for season awards. So, Vasi for the Vizina, Coop for the Jack Adams, Cooch for the Hart Award. We've talked about Cooch for Hart in the past. We can talk more about Vasi and Coop for their respective awards as well. It's pretty interesting, though. We do look stronger than last season. Our depth's been improved quite a bit, Well, not quite a bit, but a decent amount with Holmberg and Pelletier. Also with Goncalves resigning and Gord resigning, too. So those all really helped our third and fourth lines. It'll be interesting to see how the team moves forward. We could use a little more depth, especially on the third and fourth lines to see. But, maybe a Mitchell Chaffee comes up and produces even more this year. Or Goncalves takes that next step. This is the reason why we signed him to a bridge deal, right? So it should be interesting to see exactly how much Goncalves takes on. We're actually going to be talking about that in the next few days. But their playoff field I can see. I'm not as high on the Maple Leafs or the Canadians as them, especially after the Maple Leafs lost Marner. But yeah, anything's possible. I just like the fact that 100% of them said the Bolts will make it, and I agree with that because the Bolts will make it. The question is now how we're going to get deeper into the playoffs. But, we're going to get to our preseason deep dive with the Nashville Preds. And, should be pretty interesting. They had a busy offseason last year, but they were expected to be postseason contenders last year, right? They brought in Stammer, they brought in a bunch of older veteran stars, but they still each had a few years. They should have been a playoff team last year, especially with Saros in goal. But Barry Trotz, it seems, might be a little over his head as GM, so this might not be the best choice. And then Andrew Brunette, the coach, he had a couple good stints elsewhere, but he hasn't really done anything. Last year was disappointing. Second to last in the Central with 68 points, right? And with all that talent, Stamkos, Saros, Yossi, all of these other players that screen playoff contender, they weren't that last year. Okay? They should improve this year. They also signed Perbix. We talked about that the other day. They signed him to a 2-year, $2.75 million AAV deal. Then he'll be free agent once again. So it's interesting to see what we're going to look like against Nashville. That's going to be closer towards the regular season, so we're going to see probably more of those regular season lines and rotations and stuff like that. So I'm interested to see just how much it looks like it will on October 9th against Ottawa. And we'll see. I think when we play the Panthers, it's going to look closer, but it should be pretty interesting. However, there is one guy in particular I'm really going to be watching throughout preseason, and that's going to be J.J. Moser, okay? And, it's interesting to me because Moser could really take that next step and be the next long-term blue lineman for us, right? And even if it's a third or fourth line guy, but we know he's going to be steady. He's going to play there every week in and week out. He's going to grind out shifts. He's going to play smart hockey. That's what you want, you know. But if he can be better than that, that's great. You know, Hetty's getting older. McDonough's getting older. McDonough's be a free agent, right? Moser's going to be a restricted free agent next year, so it could be a big one. You know, we've had plenty of experience with, you know, these kind of bridge deals in the past to see, okay, you know, we have a young player that's been developing at the NHL level. He's looking good. What can we do to give him a nice contract to bridge into an even bigger one moving forward? You know, that was successful at Braden Point most recently and a couple others. So it'll be interesting to see just how well Moser does this year. Remember, he was the main part of that Sergachev deal last summer, right? It's believed he's going to be Sergachev's long-term replacement, right? 54 games last year, plus minus a positive 20. That's good. It's a good season, all right? He showed considerable improvement as the season progressed, too. All right, he got better and better and better. All right, he only had 14 points in the 54 games last year, 2 goals, 12 assists. So improving his offensive output would be expected. Actually, would be key to his development, right? If he can play it next to McDonough or Hetty, and he can learn from them, soak it up, and learn how to be a good offensive defenseman, especially from Hetty, you know, I think we can see a big step forward from JJ Moser this year. I think he'll play a lot with Ryan McDonough. I think he'll play well with Ryan McDonough. And it'll be interesting to see just how well, you know, he can progress. Because a lot of Bulls fans think that he could be the next big thing. And if he is going to be the next big thing, that's great. Because we have a team that's built to win right now. We need a team that's built to win in 10 years. We're working on it, right? We're going to talk about Connor Geeky in a few days. We're going to talk about more about JJ Moser. We're going to talk more about these other young players coming up. It's really interesting to see who's going to be part of that next core. And I think we all know that Braden Point's going to be the veteran leader of that core if everything goes according to plan. But who's going to surround him? So it'll be interesting. But we have one more. You know, we're having a lot of fun with these what-if scenarios. So what if Alex Ovechkin in Bolts Blue? The odds are like literally infinitesimal. They're so small. It's almost certainly not going to happen. Oh, but could you imagine? He's going to be 40 next summer when he's a free agent. It's continued to show why he's one of the most dangerous scoring threats in the NHL today. He's now historically the most dangerous scoring threat of all time after breaking the Great One's record. Goal scored. So, you know, it's gonna be wild to see if he continues to play once his deal is up. Because he can just go back home to Russia and then done. He can play a couple more years there if he really wanted to. End the career on a high note. He's gonna be an NHL Hall of Famer. You know, that's for sure. But, you know, it's interesting to imagine a line with like Kuch on one wing and then Ovechkin on the other, centered by Point. Could you imagine? It just, oh man, other teams would just be so scared. It just wouldn't be fair. But you know, he's played for the Caps his whole career. He's played in Washington his whole career. He is known for being Mr. Capital. Like, there's, you guys see my fitteds I wear for all these videos. There's some really cool Ovechkin ones out there that they've done. I'll probably buy one soon. But anyways, besides the point, you know, would he leave Washington? I don't think he would. I think if he's gonna go anywhere in the NHL, he's either gonna retire, he's gonna leave, retire from the NHL, and just retire overall. Retiring overall, I don't think will happen. I think he'll retire from the NHL and go to back home and then play maybe a year or two there, and then fully retire. It's kind of crazy too because he had 73 points last year. You know, 44 goals, 29 assists. So it's clear he knows how to put the puck back in the net. I don't think that's ever going to go away. Question is, would he ever leave Washington? He would leave Washington, I think, in a very specific scenario. Like, it was a team ready to win a title and like something happened, Washington happened where it's like, they're just like, go ahead and go, try to win one more. I don't think so. But hey, how fun would it be, right? He's tormented us for so many years. If we put him on the same line with Cooch and Point, or we put him on the second line. Oh man, it would be fun. And then imagine how much, like a young player like Connor Geeky would soak up, or Gage Goncalves. All of these guys would soak up so much information. It'd be kind of fun to watch. So, that's just the last what if we're going to do for unrestricted free agents. We have quite a few restricted free agents we're going to start going over tomorrow. There's just so much out there next summer. It's going to be kind of wild. There's also the last preseason D-Day. We're going to talk about the Panthers. So, we don't like it, but we got to talk about them because they're our biggest obstacle right now. This is Jordan with Lightning Latest, and we have more coming tomorrow. I'm really excited to continue with you guys. We'll talk soon. See you later.